What is up, Internet? It's Jeremy here, and today I'm going to be doing just sort of an update to a previous video of mine. This was actually I'll probably disable that video after I post this one because there's nothing in there that I'm not going to go over here. Um, anyway, this is going to be actually a tech demonstration video. And I'm going to show you the ins and outs, at least some of them, very basic, as well as some of the differences between the VMware vSphere web client and the vSphere desktop client. Now, before we get started, there's a few things I want to talk about, specifically the merge or the motion from a desktop client to a web client. And what I want to talk about is basically what are the benefits and what are the pros and cons. With the desktop client, you definitely have it definitely runs faster, though that's more a matter of optimization. The desktop client does seem to be a little bit more usable, and it has, as of right now, it can do more options, do more things. But some of the drawbacks are that it only runs on Windows. And that can be a big deal because a lot of times, in a production environment, you have many different operating systems, and what with Mac being, ubiquitous nowadays, a lot of people, even techs, like to use Macs as their personal computers. And so, if you're not running Windows, you have to either log into a virtual machine or console into a machine running Windows in order to access your vSphere grid. And, that's a problem. But on the whole, a lot of people are used to the vSphere desktop client. And one of the things that a lot of companies do when they make web clients is they will take your desktop client and then just transpose it onto a web page. VMware didn't do this, though. When you do that, it's normally quite easy to get to a web page, or not get to a web page, to understand. Basically, if you're familiar with one, you can pretty easily get used to the other in that situation. With VMware, that's not the case because they made a lot of changes going from the desktop client to the web client, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. But I'd say one of the biggest advantages, and probably the biggest advantage, and I think the main reason why they did this, was they no longer have to make their client supported on all browsers and on all operating systems. Any compatible OS or any OS that runs a compatible web browser and has Flash can do it, which makes it much easier for people on Macs to, manage. If you're running a Mac as your personal computer or a Linux box, which I love Linux. I'm a bit of a Linux fanboy, even though I'm not very good at it. It's a lot easier to manage your system because you no longer have to console into something else. So anyway, here's some of the differences. Sorry, my phone is going off. Why does it always go off in the middle of videos? Anyway, so first I want to just give you a quick run through of the old method of doing it, the vSphere client, the desktop client, and just kind of show you around the way I was taught. So let me move my mic because my mic's in front of the keyboard. So let me log in. Yeah, my keyboard's really clicky because I have a mechanical one. Which, by the way, for those who don't know, this is going to be a very quick and dirty. That was on my VM running vSphere, which I'll give a brief overview of all this in a second. So, first thing you see when you log in is it pops up the message of the day. vCenter of Eric and Jeremy's home lab, unauthorized access may result in dismemberment or spontaneous facial explosions. And then notices host 3 has been temporarily decommissioned and the vSphere's memory has been reduced to 4 gigabytes from 8 gigabytes. Sorry, vCenter. So this is vCenter. Now, I should clarify, I've actually been using the terms wrong this whole video. vSphere is when you're logging in to manage one host. So if I was logging directly into this host with the desktop client, that would be vSphere. I'm now using vSphere here to log into my vCenter, which is actually a virtual machine running an application, which allows me to manage all of my hosts as well as gives me other options. So that's a big clarification there. So vSphere direct into a host will give you just management options for that host, for only that host. vCenter will let you manage multiple hosts and your cluster and give you a lot more options. Generally, all you ever need to connect to is vCenter after you've set everything up. So this is the vCenter right here, and I'll go ahead and full screen this. It's pretty easy to look at, honestly. You have your 3 hosts, or you have your hosts on the side, which, as you can see, one of them's been decommissioned. And you saw that we posted that in our message of the day. But these are our 3 hosts, and then these are the virtual machines that are running on those hosts. And if you go to summary, you can see what host it's running on right there, 1.1 or 1.11. So that is running. Host lab, the domain controller, is running there. Now our router access, which we had a router that required a specific version of Java, so we just made a VM that we could use to access it. That one is running on 1.12. So you can see that's running there. Tekkit, that is actually a Minecraft server. We have old Minecraft and new Minecraft. It's modded. Anyway, that one is running on .11, and then our vCenter is running on .11. So we have a lot of hosts running on .11 right now. I actually probably should move vCenter to .12, which actually that'll be a great exercise I can show you. I can show you how to do it in both. So first and foremost, I actually do that with router access because it's easier. So anyway, it's very straightforward. You can see you have your list of VMs here. If I wanted to power on Linux Mint, I just right click it, power on. I have all these options. I can power it on, power it off, which is literally just unplugging it. I can suspend it, which will basically freeze it in time. I can reset it, which is like unplugging the power and then putting it back in. Or once it's powered on, I can shut it down, which will actually shut down the OS properly, a graceful shutdown. Or I can do a proper graceful restart. You generally want to stick to these, though sometimes you have to just power it off. There are other options. You can see you can install and upgrade VMware tools. You can send a Control-Alt-Delete. You can enter full screen. This is when you actually have the console up. And then answer question. I think that's just a FAQ. Snapshots are really awesome. They basically allow you to take a backup of your entire virtual machine at one moment in time. And you can do it from a suspended virtual machine. You can do it from a shutdown virtual machine. I don't know if you can do it from a powered on virtual machine. I just haven't tried. I never see a reason to. Let's see. Open console. This is where you actually go in to manage the VM. You can actually see the desktop from here, though I don't think you can on that one because it's a little bit iffy. But we'll try something different. We'll try the console for the host lab, if it'll open up. Wait. Is it going? Sometimes it's a little slow. There it goes. Control-Alt-Delete. Now here's something cool about VMware, because if I press Control-Alt-Delete on Windows, it's gonna Control-Alt-Delete my whole screen. We don't want that. So I can actually go up here and this right here, click VM. It's the same menu as when you right-click guest. You can send a Control-Alt-Delete into it. So we send one in. We type in the password. I really hope I remember the password. Oh, whatever. Damn it. There. Password's been changed. Anyway, that's just a Windows Server thing. I'll probably change it back in a little bit. So anyway, you can see here the power outage. Okay, whatever. Anyway, that doesn't matter. That's just Windows Server doing a thing. So as you can see, we actually get taken to the desktop. And it's just like you're on it. I mean, this is a computer. So I can open up Google Chrome. It's connected to the network. Granted, this is a Windows Server. This isn't, but But yeah, Google right there. I can go to Google. I can go to Reddit. It's a virtual computer. And so what's cool is now you see this. Let me see if I can take a snapshot. I'm actually going to try and take a snapshot while live. Take snapshot. Name. Reddit. And that's how you take a snapshot. So, and what's cool, if I close the console, I didn't just close out of the machine. The machine is still running. All I got to do is open the console again. It's a little bit slow. And bam, everything's exactly where it was before. So, you know, that's very powerful, and you can do that for any of the virtual machines over here. Linux Mint's just it's a little buggy right now. I'm actually just gonna power it off. Anyway, so that's kind of a general overview. Let's get into a couple other things now. So all of these devices here, all of these machines are actually stored off-site. Well, on-site, but not off the machines. They're stored in a NAS, a network attached storage, that's connected via iSCSI, and you can see this under summary. Let's see. It's being slow right now. Why is vCenter being so slow? Well, I'll try it later. That is really weird. Well, here, I'll show you on this one. So you can go up to configuration, storage, and your data stores. Now, every host has its own internal data store. Whatever drive that the ESX software, the ESX OS is installed on, will act as a storage data store. What is going on? Why is this not like... What the hell? Looks like I need to reboot some of this stuff. It's been on for a very... Create virtual... Oh, that's why. It's creating the snapshot. I'm actually gonna... Really wish I could cancel that now, because that's what's slowing me down. Anyway, so you could normally check the storage in here. But you can see here, you can view the usage of your hosts. So you can see, see what your host is. It's 4 CPUs and 8 threads. It's an i7-4770K. Yeah, see, there you go. Cores per socket, processor sockets, and then logical processors. That's because there's 2 threads per core. So you can see how much your host is being utilized, both CPU and memory-wise. As you can see, host 1 is, well, this one's being slow. Host libdc. All right, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the web interface. So it's pretty easy, but basically it's pretty easy to kind of find your way around vSphere here. And if you want to make a new virtual machine, it's easy. You just click on a host and click new virtual machine, and it'll take you through this whole setup. Typical, decide your thing, decide, here we go. Here's where you can see our data stores. It'd normally be a little, it wouldn't be this slow normally. But this one, ESX Local 2, that's actually the data store of the host. This one is connected via iSCSI, and this is actually a separate device. What you can do is if you store all of your virtual machines on a separate device, if your hosts ever go down, your virtual machines are safe. Generally speaking, you want to have backups, though. You want to have your virtual machine stored in 2 to 3 places or more. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. So now let's go over to the web client. So this is the same machine. The vCenter is running off of, it doesn't show it there, but this is 1.16, and that's what I logged into. And if you go up here, see it's 1.16. So the newer versions just have the web interface set up. So let me log in using the same login I had before. And now you can start to see a bit of a difference. Comparing, you know, this right here to that. There's a big difference. But it's actually not that hard to get back. Now, as you can see before, the message of the day popped up here. It comes in from the top. You know, read the message of the day. So you click it, and there you go, message of the day. So it doesn't pop up like before. I don't actually like that as much, but you know, that's just how it goes. So let's go here. You have a vCenter. And now it's starting to look a little more familiar. You have your vCenter servers, your home lab. You can go through and see what's going on with your lab, which is actually the vCenter. Like, this is our virtual machine that the vCenter is running on. And this is the vCenter specific information. You can go to your data centers, which is when you have things set up in a cluster as a data center, you can actually view full data center information. It's not as it's not as nice as I would like it to be. There's not enough information here, and that might just be because we haven't set up everything. But you can see your full storage. We have about 2.3 terabytes available, and we've used about 356 gigs. We have about 32 gigabytes of memory available, and 16 cores in our data center right now. But where the real magic is when you start going into hosts and virtual machines down here. So that's starting to look familiar. You have all your virtual machines, and you can say you click on one, and this is, now things are looking similar, except, you know, you now have a preview of your console there. You can actually launch your console just by clicking Launch Console. Pops up in a separate window, and you can even full screen it. And there we go. The resolution doesn't quite match properly, so that's why the full screen's a little screwy. And then you can view here, you can see your CPUs, your memory, your hard disk. You can actually connect and disconnect certain devices like a floppy drive or a CD drive. And say you want to edit the machine. Well, that's easy enough. You, Actions, Edit Settings. Now, sometimes you have to power it off or suspend it before you can do a lot of this. Like, I can't change the CPU or memory or anything, but normally I could. You know, I can set what network device I want. We only have one network right there. I can decide, you know, okay, I have a CD drive in there, or I want to connect a virtual CD drive, and what is it connecting to? Is it going to be a client device? So is it going to be, you know, a networked CD drive I want to connect it to, a host device, a CD drive on the actual host? Or do I want to plug in an ISO file and have it read as a CD drive? That's usually the easiest, because that way you don't have to actually have a physical CD drive. You can actually set custom video card settings and use a physical video card if you wanted, which is nice. But, you know, most of this is not doing anything video, any video processing at all. I'm not going to game on a virtual machine. So, you know, I usually keep that as the default. It just saves power. You can go through all these different VM options. You can go through the VMware tools, power options, boot options, fiber channel if you have that set up, advanced options. There's a lot of stuff you can do from here. But the biggest thing is you can see all of the options are the same, but the general layout is different. I'll go ahead and close that. You can monitor your usage, your storage reports there, your performance. Might be a little bit slow. Yeah, it's a little slow. Issues, however, there don't seem to be any issues, but sometimes issues will pop up. So yeah, I know this is kind of rambling. I'm sorry. There's a lot, and I'm doing this off the top of my head. But the biggest thing is you can really, it takes a bit of playing around, but you can pretty much do everything you need to do from inside the, inside the web client. I actually set up this entire lab from the web client, with the exception of when I had to use the vSphere, because, you know, you don't have the web client set up when you first plug in your host. But From the moment I could use the web client when I had my vCenter set up, I never went back to the desktop client. Not because I think the web client is better, but because everything will be moving toward the web client from here on out. And it's much better to get used to it now than have to deal with it later, because I'm already fairly used to the desktop client. So let's see. Let me show you a vMotion. Let's go to virtual machines. I'm going to vMotion router access from the first host to the second host. Because router access, I believe, is on .11, and I'm going to just, well, here. Let me suspend this. As you can see, vSphere is still rather slow. Come on. Oh, lordy. Here, let me just refresh this. It's because I had set up that darn snapshot to be taken. There we go. So we're gonna want to migrate. So we're gonna select the migration type. Now here, you can change the host, you can change the data store, or you can change both. So for example, before we had our iSCSI data store set up, we had to have virtual machines running with their storage on the internal data stores, which is okay. But when you want to migrate it, the best practice there is to migrate both the host and the data store to a new host. In this situation, since the iSCSI data store is connected to all of the hosts, I can simply change what it's being processed on instead of what it's being stored on. Of course, I could also just change the data store, which is useful if you have it running on a host and you want to change it from that host data store to your network data store, but you don't want to stop it running on that host. So we're going to change just the host. Click Next. And now we're going to select our destination. It's going to be within this lab. So we click that, and we click Next. Then we want to move it to .12. Compatibility checks are all succeeded. Yeah. We had several issues with that before because we didn't have the host, the storage set up correctly. Reserve ZPU for optimal vMotion. Yeah, we want to leave all the defaults there. Basically, it just depends on what you want to prioritize. Do you want to prioritize your CPU resources, or do you want to prioritize the vMotion performance? We're going to do vMotion because it's the easiest. So this is just a review. We're only changing the host and we're moving it to .12, and we're prioritizing vMotion. So we finish, and you can see it happening over here. It's relocated, and there we go. So now, summary, if it'll actually load the summary, there we go. It's on .12. And now we can actually show you that again in reverse. From the desktop client, I can show it to you in reverse. So we go to router access, summary, and you can see it's running on .12. So migrate, and oh look, it's basically the exact same menu, except less pretty. Change host, click your destination, click your host. Oh, come on. Oh, there you go, validating. It was being slow. Same option. How do you want to prioritize your vMotion? Ready to complete, finish. And you can watch down here, 1434. Completed. Go over here, refresh, and bam, it's now 1.11. So it really depends what you prefer. Personally, I do like using this better, but I'm forcing myself to use the web client because I know that is all there will be soon. So, I have to make myself get used to it. I think the only reason I like this better is because I'm used to it. It's what I've used my whole VMware career. But anyway, hopefully that was a good overview of VMware vSphere and vCenter, and how to manage a cluster. Again, this was extremely basic. I may do a couple of other videos in the future. We'll see how much traction this one gets. But if there's anything you'd like to see how to do, or just any questions you have, let me know in the comments. Thanks. Have a good one.